Hey everyone! Welcome to Update X24H, your go-to channel for the latest news, hottest dramas, breaking stories, and all the buzz from the world of entertainment. We're here to keep you updated, entertained, and always in the loop. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing family, because here at Update X24H, we bring you the news that matters, the drama you love, and the stories you can't miss. Thanks for being part of our community. Let's stay connected, stay updated, and keep the good vibes rolling. You won't believe the devastating reason behind the tragic passing of Yu Menglong's mother. This heartbreaking story, full of grief and unanswered questions, is something no one could have imagined. Prepare yourself. This is a tale that will tug at your heartstrings and leave you speechless. The news of Yu Menglong's mother's death struck like a second thunderclap after the first storm had barely passed. Only a month earlier, the entertainment world had been mourning the sudden loss of Yu Menglong himself, a young actor admired for his sincerity, talent, and quiet charm. His passing had left an open wound in the hearts of millions. Yet, before that wound could begin to heal, another tragedy emerged. The death of his mother, whose grief had apparently become too unbearable to survive. It was as though the universe could not contain the sorrow of this one family, and their pain spilled out to touch everyone who had ever admired them. The connection between mother and son had always been described as unbreakable. Friends said she was his anchor, the silent figure behind his every achievement. When Yu Menglong died, her world lost its center of gravity. She withdrew from public life, refusing interviews, disappearing from view. Those who caught brief glimpses of her said her eyes seemed hollow, as if the light had gone out of them. Her passing was not merely the loss of another life. It was the echo of her son's tragedy, a reflection of love so deep it could not exist without him. In her final act, some saw despair. Others saw devotion carried to its most painful extreme. Across China and far beyond, the double tragedy resonated with an intensity rarely seen. Fans wrote messages of sorrow that flooded social media, describing how the story had shaken their faith in the illusion of celebrity happiness. Beneath fame and beauty, they realized, often lies isolation and quiet suffering. Psychologists spoke about how the death of a child can shatter the mind, but even their words seemed small beside the enormity of her grief. Together, the two deaths became a haunting symbol of human fragility, proof that love, while capable of extraordinary strength, can also lead to unbearable pain. As candles burned outside the family's silent home, many whispered the same words. Perhaps now mother and son have finally found the peace that eluded them in life. In the weeks following her son's death, Yu Menglong's mother was described by those around her as a shadow of her former self, a woman whose entire being had been consumed by grief. She had lost not only her child, but also her reason to keep living. Every corner of their home, every quiet street they once walked together, became a reminder of what she had lost. The silence that followed his death was not the peaceful kind. It was the heavy, suffocating quiet of a mother's broken heart. People close to her said she stopped answering calls, stopped opening the curtains, and spent hours sitting alone in her son's old room, touching the things he left behind as if they could still connect her to him. When she finally spoke, it was through a letter that appeared online. A letter filled with words so raw and tender that readers across the country were moved to tears. She wrote that her days had become endless nights, that her son's laughter still echoed in her mind, and that every sunrise reminded her of what she would never see again. She did not sound angry nor bitter. Her pain was quiet, dignified, and infinite, like a wound that no time could heal. Those words gave the world a glimpse into the soul of a mother who had loved too deeply, and who found herself adrift in a world that no longer made sense. As the days passed, her sorrow deepened into something darker. Witnesses said she was seen wandering near the last filming location of her son, standing silently for long stretches as if waiting for him to return. Others recalled how she clutched a framed photograph of Yu Menglong whenever she left the house, whispering to it as though it could still hear her. She was alive, but she was no longer living, caught between two worlds, unable to move forward or let go. Her grief became a mirror for many who watched from afar. It revealed how love, when bound so tightly to another soul, can become unbearable when that bond is broken. Her story was not just one of sorrow, but of devotion that refused to fade, even in the face of death. In the end, it seemed her heart followed where her son had gone, seeking the peace that life had cruelly denied her. When the first shock of Yu Menglong's death began to fade into a lingering ache, a new wave of unease swept through the public. A letter surfaced online, said to have been written by his mother. It was fragile and haunting, filled with sorrow but also with the tone of quiet suspicion. In it, she questioned the circumstances of her son's death, wondering if what the world had been told was truly the whole story. Her words were hesitant, almost trembling, as if she feared what she already knew. "Something is not right," she was reported to have written. "He was not the kind to give up on life." Those lines, brief and uncertain, were enough to ignite a storm across social media and beyond. The letter spread with frightening speed, carried by the hands of grief and curiosity. Some believed it was a desperate cry from a mother who could not accept her son's fate, while others saw it as the first whisper of a truth deliberately hidden. Analysts, journalists, and fans alike pored over every word, searching for clues. Was it truly her handwriting? Were these her authentic thoughts or a cruel fabrication meant to exploit her pain? In a world hungry for answers, no one could tell what was real anymore. What made the letter so powerful was not merely its content, but its silence, the gaps between the words, the sorrow that lingered between the lines. It did not accuse directly, but it questioned gently, and that quiet doubt echoed louder than any accusation could. Whether real or forged, it forced the public to look again at Yu Menglong's final days, to re-examine what had been accepted as truth. His sudden death, once dismissed as an accident, now shimmered with the uneasy light of uncertainty. But behind all the speculation lay something deeper, the reflection of a mother's desperate hope that her child's death might still hold meaning, that justice or understanding might rise from her pain. If the letter was hers, it was not a document of anger but of longing, a plea for truth or perhaps simply for connection to the son she had lost. Even if it was never proven authentic, it became part of their shared story, a symbol of love that refuses silence, of questions that grief alone cannot answer. In the days following Yu Menglong's funeral, reports emerged that his mother had been seen visiting places her son had loved. Witnesses described her as a broken figure, moving through these locations as if searching for a part of her son that still lingered in the air. The heartache was palpable, one witness remarked. She looked like she had lost her soul. One of the most poignant reports came from Urumqi, where it was said that she traveled to retrieve her son's ashes. This act, whether true or not, added another layer of grief to an already sorrowful story. Was this a mother's final attempt to hold on to her son, to bring him back to the home where he once lived? Or was it a heartbreaking journey to find closure? As the news of his mother's death spread, fans across China and beyond began flooding social media with messages of sorrow and remembrance. "May they finally reunite in heaven," read one post. The tragic timing of both deaths, one after the other, created a sense of disbelief among fans. How could this family endure such a succession of painful losses? Psychologists emphasize the profound psychological effects of such grief. Losing a child, especially in such a tragic way, can lead to depression, and without the proper emotional support, it can spiral into a deep darkness. It is heartbreaking to think that Yu Menglong's mother may have felt she had nowhere to turn, trapped in a cycle of grief that led her to take her own life. Despite the overwhelming sadness, there are still unanswered questions surrounding this tragedy. Was there more to Yu Menglong's death than we've been told? Could there have been someone, behind the scenes that led to this heartbreaking turn of events? Or was it truly just a series of tragic coincidences? As fans continue to mourn, the public's desire for answers grows stronger. Yet, no matter the outcome, one thing remains certain. The loss of Yu Menglong and his mother is a poignant reminder of how fragile life can be. Behind the fame, the smiles, and the success, there is a human heart, capable of experiencing unimaginable pain. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, make sure to subscribe to UdateX24H for more emotional stories, updates, and news about the lives of celebrities. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know how this story has affected you. Your support means everything to us. Let's continue to remember and honor the lives of those who touched our hearts.